Yes, yes, yes! Yes, Kingdom fans, you read that title correctly. Kin has finally done it. They have pulled a move right out of Riboku's playbook and made not one, not two, not even three, but four super secret lethal weapons out of thin air, and they are all undoubtedly going to cause a great upset on their battlefields. But as always guys, before we get to talking about these four new lethal weapons, we gotta discuss the chapter as a whole for them to make more sense. So at the beginning of the chapter, all we see are the four mountain army generals Bajio, Shunmen, Taijifu, and Katari, causing absolute havoc and destruction to their enemy. In literally every panel, all we see is just chunks of Zhao soldiers being flung into the air. It's beautiful from a certain point of view. Showing us the ferocity of the mountain tribes, however, despite their ruthless onslaught, apparently they seem to be losing on every other front, and the army itself is just barely holding together. When all of a sudden, out of practically thin air, two mysterious masked figures appear at the mountain army headquarters, and of course, the two are among the four new secret weapons that Kin has, and their outfits do match their tribe's name fairly accurately. They are known as the Phantom Tribe of the Mountain Realm, the 100-Eyed Tribe, and have been given the name the Sages of the Mountains, which is really just proof of this tribe's importance as strategists. Now that Yotanwa has been taken out of the equation, the 100-Eyed Chief Hadama, possibly Hadama, and his daughter Udama have now taken center stage on their battlefield to save their allies from being decimated and causing massive ripple effect that would just devastate the entire Kin campaign. And of course the only way to do this was by them asking for 10,000 reinforcements from their neighbouring ally Mu-10, where we see the third lethal weapon Nudama, the son of Hadama, who apparently likes to brag that he is a genius. But regardless, to nobody's surprise, Mu-10 immediately realised the consequences of the Otanwa army collapsing, which we will come back to later, and sent an extra 2,000 troops, making 12,000 reinforcements, and saying he will adapt his strategies to compensate for the loss of a fifth of his troops and taking away the one advantage he had on his battlefield, which of course was having superior numbers. Now we hop over to the Kyokai Kisui battlefield, where we see that Kyokai is being pushed back on all fronts due to her being outnumbered, mixed in with her hesitation to use the 20,000 soldiers from the Han forces. Now I know this is self-explanatory and completely fair. Despite them trained together for the past year, this is their first battle together, and she is worried if she can trust them. Worst case scenario, the 20,000 Han forces turn on her and her own army and then turn her battlefield into a 70,000 versus 20,000 massacre. But then comes our fourth secret lethal weapon from the Han army, which is a real plot twist by the way, and when I saw this, I won't lie to you, I actually jumped out of my seat. I was so happy. We meet Raku Ashu, son of the late great general Raku Khan of Han. And that is one hell of a tongue twister. I dare anyone to say that 5 times fast. Anyway, Raku Ashu proposes to take the Han forces and create the left and right wing of their army's formation to stop the Kisui army's momentum. However, before Kyokai gives permission, she asks him one question. Does he hold a grudge against the Kin army for killing his father, and seems to be piercing his very soul with her gaze as she says it. He then goes into a monologue about how he wasn't able to participate in the defense of Han, and how he raced down south to Ron Castle to fight and die alongside Raku Khan. But of course, like any father, Raku Khan wanted his son to live on, and instead told his son to inherit his will and move forward. And despite the immense frustration Raku Ashu feels for the loss of Han and his father, he said he bears no hatred towards Kin in his heart. This answer is more than enough for Kyokai to put her faith in him and the Han forces. Kyokai even does him the honor of naming the Han force the Rakua army, and I'm not too sure, but since he does have command over them already, then did Kyokai just make this guy a general despite his age and complete inexperience at war, even if he is a general only in name? Nonetheless, Raku Ashu is respected by all the Han soldiers, raises their morale and sends them off to join the battle on the two wings of the Kin army, effectively halting the Kisui army's advance and turning this battlefield into a more even fight of 40,000 versus 50,000. And finally, we come to the final page where we see Sika-un observing the Kyokai Kisui battlefield from afar, takes a moment where he seems to be either gathering himself and his thoughts, or maybe he is looking down in disappointment. It's kinda hard to tell, but from the image, he closes his eyes and his head tilts down. So it could mean certain things. Who knows? I'm sure we'll get an explanation for it in the future. Anyway, he then makes his way to the Haishin battlefield where we see this small comment at the end saying that the next chapter, Shin is targeted. And now we get to the talking points of the chapter. The first thing we gotta talk about is Rakugo and how he honored his father. We can see when he went to Ron Castle he had a bare face, but now we see he got the exact same tattoos on his face that his father Rakugo had, and even took his armor as his own. He took the part of inheriting his will quite literally, and I admit I respect the hell out of him for that. He really does look exactly like a young Rakugo. And then there's the fact that he intends to fight so he does not tarnish his father's name. Now I see that statement in two ways. The first being that he was taught by his father his type of tactics in warfare and intends to use the same type of strategies to prove they are still lethal and efficient despite them not working on the Toe army, which I think is very valid. He nearly had the Toe army wiped out. It was a very dangerous attack. He had a perfect blend of offense and defense in the one move. He nearly took the head of, well, all of the Toe army commanders except Toe. I still can't believe Kano survived that massacre. It's just awesome. Or perhaps he intends to only fight for Kin to make his father's death not be meaningless. And let me explain what I mean by this. Qin conquered Han so that they could continue their conquest of Zhao and their goal to unify China. For this to happen, Rakugo Khan had to die, as he was a symbol of the power of Han. Now the only way for Rakugo to make sure his father's death wasn't meaningless is to make sure that Qin's conquest of the other kingdoms, or at the very least, their conquest of Zhao, is completed. Nonetheless, this kid has got a bright future ahead of him and we need to see it happen. Now I admit I was flaming when Rakugo Khan had an off-screen death and I am still burning with rage on the inside because of it. But now that we see Rakugo in the story, this is how Hara can redeem such an act of cruelty on his fans. At least in my eyes. And I know there was a deeper meaning to the death of Rakugo Khan, but still I didn't like the fact that they hyped up such a character and then they just, had him die off screen. Not even to the Great General, they had Rukiyomi kill him. It was just disappointing. Now we come to our three geniuses of the 100-Eyed Tribe. Now we haven't seen anything to prove this statement yet, and Nudama is the only one to claim to be a genius, but according to Udama, Hadama is the most intelligent in their tribe of sages and has been called the divine intellect. Then according to Hadama, Udama is even more gifted than he is, so she is a divine intellect. So basically what I'm saying is that all we know for certain is that these guys love to call themselves, geniuses. But they're not all talk, despite the fact they claimed to be the main brains behind Yotano's success in the past. The fact that Yotano kept them hidden and a secret known only to a select few to keep them safe, it only proves their importance to her. However, like all things, genius does come with a downside, and this is what concerns me. This one panel where Chief Hadama states, "If we become a dying body early on, erase our presence and endure. An unexpected opportunity may come our way." Now maybe I misunderstand it, but to me this means even if they lose a good chunk of their troops, they will go all out on defense and wait for an opportunity to strike. In other words, they are more than willing to make as many sacrifices as necessary for victory. Now I know that it is a strategist's duty to not look at soldiers as people but as pieces on a game board. But we've seen most strategists in the series find some compromise on that rule. But you have to admit, that was a line you could easily see Wu Sen saying. Is it possible Yotama had her own private Wu Sen hidden away somewhere? Apparently it is. But then we see someone like his daughter Udama, who seems to be far less logical and cold and more outright. She comments on being compared to a rare panda breed as if she disapproves of it. She is jolly when she gets complimented, and she even gives out about Yotama taking credit for their strategies, calling her a monster of vanity and exhibitionism. Which is weird because their outfits really are the exact same except they have a different pattern on them. Maybe it's to do with the fact that she always showing her face. and no other mountain triber does it. So maybe that's what she means by exhibitionism. Because if it's to do with their outfit, then doesn't that mean she's also an exhibitionist? So who can say? Who are we to judge? And in a way, she also reminds me of Katari, the way she is serious one minute, then joking the next. They would make really good friends, I think. I really do hope that we get to see them interact in the future, on at least some level. And finally, we have to give a shout out to Hadama for acknowledging our boy Mu-10 as the man with the most flexible mind in the Kin Coalition army. So now Mu-10's genius has been acknowledged by literally each and every single tactician Kin has to offer. Nearly every single tactician in the entire series. Everyone from Shohei-kun and Wu-sen to Riboku and Kisui. Actually, the only person right now that I can think of that hasn't acknowledged him, or at least we haven't seen acknowledge him, is the likes of Karin and Rempa down in Chu. All the same though, you gotta admit, the future of the Kin army doesn't look so desperate anymore. And so Kingdom fans, I believe that is all I have to say about this chapter for now. If you enjoyed this video and like seeing Kingdom content in general, then please, for me, remember to hit that like and subscribe button down below with that notification bell so you can stay up to date with the channel. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one.